Следующий день. Мы сейчас едем за Хоббитом в пещеру. Вот эти вот новые пальм trees. Нет, это не эти проекты.
Realize other people were already parked in a certain spot in front of them. When the Europeans arrived, the very first one was a Dutch seaman, a navigator by the name of Abel Tasman. Abel Tasman came to these shores, and from his ship he looked through his telescope at the half-naked, heavily tattooed, very fierce-looking men and women jumping up and down on the beach, making big eyes and poking their tongues out. And he decided there and then that that was a place he did not need to put his foot upon. So he turned his ships around and sailed away. The only remains of his journey here, notes in his ship's journal or the ship's logbook. Nearly 130 years later, Captain James Cook, a member of the Royal Astronomical Society in London, was asked to lead an expedition down into the southern seas to the islands of Tahiti, so that from there he would be able to observe the conjunction of Venus, the star and the sun, or the planet Venus and the sun. The Royal Astronomical Society wanted to know what it looked like from the southern oceans. And so the official reason for Cook to come to the southern ocean was to observe this astronomical happening. And then at the same time he was given another journey to complete, another task, and this was at the beginning highly secret. The mission was to take the coordinates for a country that had apparently been discovered 130 or so years earlier by a Dutch navigator, Abel Tasman. They had found this information in an old ship's log. So his task was to find the country, if it was there, and to report back on what it was that he found. What sort of country was it? Were there people? What were they like? And so on, and so on, and so on. And so he sailed to Tahiti, and then when he had finished, they set sail from Tahiti once again, and only then, at that point, did he tell his sailors that they were not going to be returning to good old Mother England straight away. They were going to carry on further down into the deep, deep south. Well, that caused some difficulties on board. Some of the men wanted to swim, if necessary, all the way back to Tahiti. Those that made attempts to leave the ship were bound and thrown in the brig, as it was called, until they were far enough away that they said, okay, we will become sailors again instead of mutineers and deserters. And so it was that he arrived in 1769 on the coasts of New Zealand. Cook was a very different man to Abel Tasman. He could see, as Tasman had done, the Maori people on the shores. They were, of course, very different people this time around. And so it was that he landed here, and he befriended the Maori people in most parts and most places where he landed. There's one particular peninsula, or how should I put it, cape in New Zealand, which is named these days Cape Kidnappers, because one of his ship's boys was kidnapped by the Maori people. Not every single stop that he made was a friendly affair, but most were. And I take it, or I suspect that because of the way in which Captain James Cook was able to conduct himself and conduct the affairs that he had to do with the Maori people, that is one of the reasons why the relationship between, let me just say, the Europeans, and I include the British in that, and the Maori people get on with each other so well, and that the Maori people are so well integrated into society these days. And it is perhaps strange to say that the Maori people are integrated into society, but already, and so the discovery of New Zealand was 1769, 1770, already by 1850 or so, the population of European people was outgrowing the number of Maori who lived in New Zealand. They estimate the Maori population to be about 50,000 when James Cook arrived in 1769. So by 1850 already the number of settlers had outgrown the number of Maori people here. That is the point at which many things began to change. In 1840, by that time, and that is 70 years after the discovery by Cook, in 1840 a treaty was signed between the British and the Maori people. A treaty that had to do with the relationship of the British Crown to the Maori people, and of course of the Maori people to the British Crown. In essence, the treaty has to do with the fact that the British Crown will take over sovereignty of the country. It will become British domain, as it were. And the British Crown will guarantee the customary rights and privileges of the Maori people. That is in essence what it was about. So the Maori are able to continue living in the way that they have always done so. The country will belong to, or will be a sovereign nation of the British Empire, and that was the understanding in essence that both sides had. But there were two versions of the treaty, one in Maori, one in English, which upon inspection differ rather from each other. And so the fine points of the treaty are still being discussed to this very day. The Maori people had grievances and complaints after the number of settlers increased to such a great number that, for example, in the towns, the young British or European men would get drunk in the evening, and then they would wander off into the Maori part of town. They would try to steal the Maori maidens from their beds, this met with quite some unhappiness, let me put it, on the part of the Maori people. Understandably too. And then there were deals that went through that were obviously very unfair. There were confiscations of land by the Crown that took place that had no right to have taken place in the way that they did. And so it is that the governments of New Zealand over the last 10 or 15 years and the present government are working hard at this point in time to come to some agreements, about reparation, the making good of various incidents and trade handling that was done that is deemed to be unrighteous or unfair. The present government thinks that by the time we get to the end of 2014, we will have been able to work out all the differences, and that process will have come to an end. Changing the story just for a few moments, coming up on the left-hand side are some native trees and plants of New Zealand. There are tall ones with little knots of spiky leaves at the top. They are what we call the cabbage tree here in New Zealand. I will say a little more about them. They are here, the taller ones. The bushes low down with the wide, green, waxy looking leaves, those are the New Zealand flax bushes, both here again on the left. Fern trees with the great big wide leaves, and then here what look like feather dusters, the plumes in white or a slight purpley reddy colour. Those are the native grass known as toi toi. Very long, very thin and very, very sharp. The leaves of that native grass. The cabbage tree got its name from Captain James Cook. The Maori people had told Cook that he could eat the leaves of the plant, of that plant. There are a number of varieties of that plant, and they all have got different Maori names, and so to avoid any difficulty in recognising them, the population in general in New Zealand simply refers to those tall trees with the knots of spiky leaves at the top simply as the cabbage tree. Captain James Cook had his ship's cook prepare a meal after he had heard that he was able to eat the leaves, and he was heard while eating the leaves to remark that they tasted rather like cabbage. It's as simple as that. Cabbage, of course, has absolutely nothing to do with the cabbage tree at all, but that is the name by which they are most commonly known here in New Zealand, and it has been so for many, many years.
No football.
The toi toi grass, as I said to you, here are more of them down here on the left. The beautiful plumes are used often in dried flower arrangements. The grass is to be taken with care because, as I said, it is very sharp. The flax bush, used extensively by the Maori people. They would cut the leaves down the length in 2 or 3. They then would weave the flax leaves into clothing. They would make decorations for the houses. They would weave them into large container-like shapes, especially for cooking their food in, but they would also use the flax to weave mats to sleep on the floor, and they would also often use the flax to make baskets with which they could carry things in, especially when they were wandering the countryside. The other use was if you took a sharp stone and rubbed the stone along the flax leaf, the waxy green part of the leaf would simply disintegrate and crumble to the ground. And then you would be left with long, very strong fibres of the flax plant in your hand, and those could be woven, they could be plaited, they would make fishing line, they would make string, they would make ropes, all from these long, strong fibres of the flax plant. So the one that I will show you a little later today that we have not seen so much of is the manuka. The manuka plant is a bush or a tree. Actually, these are manuka just here. A bush or a tree, very small leaves, and they have beautiful, beautiful, tiny flowers that grow on the bushes in late December, in January and early February, when a hillside of manuka is in flower. It looks like the whole of the hillside is covered in a veil of white. The bees absolutely love the manuka flowers, especially for the pollen and the nectar which the flowers produce. The nectar and the pollen they transport back to their beehive, and there they create manuka honey. Manuka honey contains a substance that works antibacterially, and the raw honey itself, as well as various creams and ointments that they are producing more and more once the research is completed, can be used to heal wounds of the skin that will otherwise simply not heal. Ulcers, bed sores are two of the types of wound that come to my mind. They can sometimes be quite infected wounds, and even using the simple raw honey on those wounds can make a huge difference and lead to eventual healing. So these tiny little wee greeny bushes along here over the years, because the five largest industries in New Zealand all depend on the land. Whether it is the meat industry, these days we export beef, lamb, venison, ostrich meat, chicken meat, goat's meat, pork, pig meat. Then we export huge amounts of wool. New Zealand produces 35 million sheep every year. That makes a lot of wool. So the meat industry, the wool industry, two of the largest in New Zealand. Along with that, as I've spoken about it already, the forestry industry, and then one of the others in the big five is the tourism industry. Now, of course, it is not that we grow tourists in our soil here in New Zealand, but what does happen is that most tourists who come to New Zealand have decided to come here because of the nature that has been sold to them by their travel agents. Some may come to visit relatives, some may come to visit friends, others may come in order to have a look at other aspects of New Zealand, but most tourists come because of the promise of beautiful sunny days, beautiful green nature, fantastic mountains, geothermal activity, and all of that has to do with the natural world in New Zealand. And then of course the last and the largest industry that we have in New Zealand is the dairy industry. That has grown from strength to strength over the last few years, because at the end of the 1990s the dairy industry in New Zealand was struggling. And so it was in 2001 a huge company was begun or was started. We call it Fonterra, and Fonterra is nowadays the largest single exporter of dairy produce in the whole world. And I will talk a little more about the dairy industry a little later. We have on the right hand side of us now the Waikato River. The Waikato River gives its name also to the region that we have entered since coming down that large hill a few moments ago.
That's so horrible.
We left the Auckland region, a region built on a large volcanic plateau, making it a particularly fertile area. The rains began to fall. And so for the last 2 weeks, on and off, we have had quite a lot of rain. This means that the very yellow grass that you see here to the left, in many regions is now beginning to turn green again. The rain for today is forecast for the morning only, and we should, I hope, by the time we arrive at Waitomo, have dry conditions again, although for your visit to Waitomo it is not quite so drastic, not quite so bad if it is raining, because you are going underground anyway to visit the Waitomo glowworm caves. But I'm assured by the weather forecast that I have received that even though it may be cloudy, we should have dry weather by the time we arrive in Rotorua this afternoon. Island and travels generally northwards until it flows into the Tasman Sea at a small village called Port Waikato.
Port Waikato.
In the 1850s, as the settler population was growing larger than the Maori population, one would have to say the balance of power changed. In the early days, the Maori people were clearly the ones who dictated how things were going to work. If a European person, a trader or something, did something that was wrong or that the Maori people did not approve of, the Maori people had no worries at all about finding that person and simply killing them. That meant that the traders and others who lived here behaved themselves because they were outnumbered. And on the other hand, the Maori people realised if we go away, if we kill too many people, they will get scared, pack their bags and leave on their big ships again. And the Maori people had recognised from a very, very early point that the advantages of having these people coming in from far, far away were aid, things like that, a pick for doing the work that had to be done, rather than having to try to join stone and wood together to make their axes, to make their implements. Metal could be formed so that a handle could be fitted to a spade, and it didn't have to be tied on, it was simply fixed in. Fantastic. Clothing, totally new concept for the Maoris. They did clothe themselves, but certainly not like the European people. Vehicles, wheels, totally new, but wow, what a difference it made to moving heavy things. And then of course, something that was totally new for New Zealand, the introduction of animals. Up till then, New Zealand was a country that was a bit like, how should I put it, a bit like it had been left on the 5th day of creation by the Almighty. It says in the Old Testament, in Genesis, in the creation story, on the 5th day God created the fish of the sea and the birds of the air. And it was only on the 6th day that he created the animals. Wow. It's as if God was drawn away from New Zealand because there were no animals. The Maoris had to find their food amongst the birds of this country, the native birds, and the fish. And as the white people arrived from England, they brought with them the cats and the dogs, the cows and the horses, donkeys, other types of birds.
Not near your neck, it's dangerous. Look how many sheep, Lily.
The sheep, the goats. And all of a sudden, with these animals that were being introduced, the Maori people found that their diet was able to change drastically.
This is dangerous.
They did not have, and their habits were able to change a little as well. They did not have to go out every single day to catch kiwi, or catch river pigeon, or whatever it might be. They were able to simply breed some animals. The kiwi bird here in New Zealand is around about the size of a chook, a chicken, a hen. And that means that in order to feed a whole village you needed to have quite a lot of kiwis. They were quite easy to catch because for a second term, this made him incredibly grumpy and unhappy because after his first term he had returned to England and was getting ready to retire, put his feet up and enjoy the comforts of his country cottage in England. Having to come back to New Zealand or being sent back to New Zealand for a second lot of 4 years was not at that point in time in his plans. And because the Queen or the King asked him, he did it. But he was, as I said, grumpy. And when he heard about the fact that the Maori people of the Waikato had chosen a king, or nominated one of their number to be a king, for him that was not understood as a move to have the grievances that the Maori people had heard by him. It was an act of the grossest disloyalty that you could imagine. An act of the grossest disloyalty that you could imagine. fact, was at the point of calling it treason. And so what happened? He wrote
Очень красиво здесь, смотри. Смотри, Филипп. Look at this, how beautiful. Look around. Cemetery.
All the kings and queens were buried there.
No.
That's what you just said. All the kings and queens of the past were buried there.
Kings of Queen of what?
Of the past.
This is a position still held today by someone. There is no legal or judicial precedent. There is no legal or judicial position as such. It is simply a part of the fabric of New Zealand society these days. And every now and then we have a Maori king or queen who is exceptional at what they do, and one can understand why it is such a good idea to have this person, and at other times there are men and women who have held the position who have basically been ineffective in what they do, and one could often ask the question as to why on earth would we even bother with having something like that.
look so ugly like this. Don't do like this.
Why don't you go to
Cool. Make sure it's a girl.
That means I need to go shopping. Why do I keep on doing that?
Well, you should rename Missy into Master. Or Mister.
You can't change their name.
Look at this. Oh, look at how beautiful. Close your eyes, you'll feel better. Switch it off
No.
and put where you remember where.
No.
No, don't give it to me. I can't look after this. Did you close it? Zip it? You can lie down on me. You'll feel better. Huh? Look at me then. Look at this, how beautiful there are cows everywhere. If you imagine how far we are. agora de manhã.
So folks, at this point in time we turn off the main road once again and we take the Waitomo Valley Road for the last 12 kilometres of the journey. The worst thing about this part of the journey is that it is the windiest piece of the road for the whole day. Now I have some logistical things that I need to speak about with you for our visit to the caves. Everyone will have received an orange sticker, I hope, like this one that I'm holding up. These are 4 of them. Did you all receive a small orange sticker like this? Yeah. If you did, that is perfect. If you did not, please get one from me before you go into the caves today. It is simply to keep the group together.
Look at me.
It is helpful for the guides to keep you all together in the caves, and then of course at the end of the time at the caves, if you are not at the coach when you should be, then it will give the opportunity for me or anyone else that is searching for you to find you. Now, the departure time for those on this coach who are continuing on to Rotorua and to Hobbiton, the departure time for us is 5 minutes past 11.
11. Now it's nearly 10, yeah.
There are some people who are returning directly to Auckland after the visit to the caves. Their departure time will be later at 11:40, but those continuing on to visit Rotorua, to go to their accommodation, to visit the Hobbiton, we will all be continuing on at 11:05 on this coach. Okay, when we arrive, you get off the coach and you make your way as quickly as possible to the top of...
Excuse me. Have you got stick in bag?
Sorry?
Bag for stick. My girl is not very well. Come on, darling. Do you like this? I think one maybe have a bag. We shouldn't take bag with us, should we? Oh, Lily. Let's go toilet then. Let's go toilet. The cave now. Lily has been sick. Lily вырвала. Yeah, ничего. Засорили в армии. Oh, look at this. It's lovely here. Like tropical garden. Oh, raining. Please look up, raining.
It makes me feel better when it's raining.
But we don't need to make your clothes wet. We're going to the cave. No, he doesn't let us to smoke. Shh, be quiet. Look at this. Look like a big mouse here. Oh, look at this. Снимать нельзя, я у тебя могу. Look at this. Inside of here. Зовемся. Вот эти вот огоньки, это червяки живые. Уехали мы так что... Егор, привет. Так вот на этой лодке мы были. Смотрели этих червяков, которые светятся. Так, куда, Лилечка, I'm making pictures here. Stay there, please. Эти вот червячки светящиеся. Они живые. Это не голова только светится, да? On the head shining. Yeah. Look at this. Это вот эти вот... Huh? Not necessary, we have time, darling. Maybe I should do more... Так, мы были вот на такой же лодочке. Пойдем. Tropical Paradise. Красиво здесь. Лидочка, put your hat on there. I mean, your hood on, please, sir. Oh, look at this, lovely here. Like in tropics.
Let me just have a look around the gift shop.
Okay, darling, we'll go. There's a toilet there as well. I think we'll get our lunch in the bus. But I don't know. Are you think you'll be alright with eating?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
I don't know. If you're not, you better keep it. They're giving us lunch here. My little darling, she was sick today.
You don't have to tell that to a camera.
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
It's worrying me because we have so much travel by bus. That makes me think I shouldn't take you on holiday with me. It may be too hard for you.
What? So you can leave me at home all the time.
I will leave you at home next week.
And where's your destination in Rotorua, you two?
We should be arriving
2 hours drive, you right?
In Rotorua.
How beautiful here, Lily, look at me, Lily.
There are lots
Lily, look at me.
of turkeys to the left.
Oh, turkey, индюк, брандуля.
Those ones.
But you can walk here, this mountain.
But it's wet, and we're not going to walk in the wet.
No.
So on the way to Rotorua today, we will be passing through the small township of Otorohanga. I'll say a little more about that also be crossing the oldest dam on the Waikato River. There are 7 dams in all, each with a hydroelectric power station. And at Arapuni, where we will travel through today, you can see the dam because we drive across it, but the power station itself is a little further down the river. And then in a valley, not visible from the road.
Oh, the beautiful film. Film Raval. Don't feel it. But make sure you're not feeling sick now. You know, if you don't feel sick with the bag, right? But another the best things to do, just go to sleep. Lying down as much as you can.
All the fields that you see to the left have within the last week been harvested from the corn that was growing there. On the further journey today, you may well see a number of cornfields that have not yet been harvested. The harvest came to a sudden halt because of the heavy rain that we had in the last few days. The corn grown here in New Zealand by many of the farmers is grown on contract to the Pioneer Seed Company in the United States of America. Pioneer has contract farmers here that grow the corn for seed, so that the seed is sent from here, or the corn is shipped from here to the United States and is delivered almost immediately to the farmers.
Лилечек, моя девочка, смотри на меня, кисть моя, маленькая, тоснила нас.
Preparing their land for planting, and the other use for the Pioneer Seed Company is that they will have a second, it will be like a second crop in the year once it is delivered. Part of the reasoning behind that is that they do not have to pay for storage between the end of one season, the harvest, and the planting at the beginning of the next corn season. So here you see more fields that are at this point in time simply waiting for a few more days of dry. One large ostrich bird, black, who is a male. 2 large females who are brown, and then a number of, let me say, small chicks, but they are already quite large. So just here on the right, there you have the 2 females. The male is up in the back right hand corner, and here are some of the chicks here in the second paddock, along with the alpacas. Alpacas from South America.
Look at beautiful views.
Peru and Chile.
Do you know why? Another one.
The time, because it
Kiwi
is far
breeding.
too dangerous in the
Factory.
south.
They breed kiwis here. Because kiwi is extinguished.
And his
Умирают.
sister lives at the other end of town. I will show you as we leave. Now, Kiwiana,
Значит, там
you will see
Just
as
bread,
we
I don't know
turn
if
this
it's just
next
bread.
bend, a blue wall in front of you. This blue wall has the iconic items of everyday life painted. The Buzzy Bee, a toy for children.
Базаби.
Gumboots, power shells, kiwi boot polish on the right hand side.
Oh, shit.
Come on mate, just go. Just go. Just go. You'll be from another country. So you can see the pavlova, the jandals, the monarch butterfly, Edmund's sure to rise baking powder, used by every housewife in New Zealand to make scones, among other things. The New Zealand has an interesting way of growing large plants out of small ones. Poppies there for Anzac Day. And then on the right hand side as we leave the town we have the sister of our other Kiwi guarding the entrance to the town. Now it was just, has anybody or has anybody tried pavlova?
Pavlova, no.
It is a sweet dessert. You make it in the following manner. You take egg whites, having separated from the egg yolk. Best eggs to use are duck eggs. You beat the egg whites until they are thick. Then you slowly add the sugar. You add a teaspoon of corn flour. That helps to give structure. Then you add a quarter of a teaspoon of vinegar and a quarter teaspoon of vanilla essence. You fold that all in and then you tip it out onto a flat baking tray which is covered by some baking paper.
We can do it.
You place it in the oven at 150 degrees centigrade. That's about 330
Bacon, what?
330
Not a problem.
Fahrenheit. And then you wait an hour and a half until it is baked, and then you do not open the oven. You turn the oven off and let the pavlova cool off with the oven. When it is cool, take it out of the oven, transfer it to a serving plate, and then you cover shortly before dishing up, before serving, cover the whole thing with whipped cream and then decorate it with any fruit of your desire. Kiwi fruit, pineapple, strawberries, any other sort of berries, whatever it is that you enjoy. Then you cut it into wedges like you do a cake and serve it on a plate. And if you want to be really decadent, you add a scoop of hokey pokey ice cream. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cold is this?
What?
How cold is this?
How what?
How you spell this? Is what we should make correct.
Pavlova?
Yeah, how you spell it?
P, the same as Russian. P-A-V L-O-V-A.
All right. Thank you.
Known as PAV for short in New Zealand.
Have.
Could we make it?
Сейчас we can think, yes.
So now I'm going to say a little bit about dairy farming in New Zealand.
We can look on internet.
If you look to the right, you will see a herd of dairy cows. The predominant cow amongst them is a light brown colour. They are the Jersey cows.
Yeah, and, okay, we can do it. Right?
One of the two main breeds that we use here in New Zealand.
But we need to
The
try
other
this ice
breed
cream.
that we use
You remember how it's
is
called?
the
Pocky
Friesian
Pocky.
cows,
Pocky
coming
Pocky.
originally from Friesland
Remember.
in the
Last
northern
crop.
Netherlands next door to Germany. The Friesian cows are black and white. They deliver lots of milk. One Friesian cow can deliver 40 up to 40 litres of milk per day. The Jersey cows do not deliver so much milk, not so many litres, but the milk that they offer is extremely rich, very creamy milk, and we use that for the butter and for making ice cream.
So remember how cold ice cream?
We have around about 4.5 million cows in New Zealand,
More than
almost
people.
exactly the same number of cows that you will find in, almost the same number of cows as you will find people in New
Yeah,
Zealand.
that's what I mean. Yes, the same amount cows and
So
people
the
the same.
population of New Zealand is about 4.5 million.
And cows the
The
same.
number of cows also 4.5 million. But
That's the
those
same.
4.5 million cows produced in the last
Put it on
year
the floor.
around about
On the floor.
19 billion
No,
litres
I mean.
of milk. 4%
Just
is
from the
used for
floor.
domestic.
Not on here.
So milk, butter, cheese, yogurt, and so on, ice cream. 4% of that is used in the domestic market. All the rest, 96% of the products made from 19 billion litres of milk.
Население, численность коров 4,5 миллиона и людей тоже 4,5 миллиона в Новой Зеландии. Коров столько же, сколько и людей.
Milk powder each year. And the largest purchaser, the largest market that we sell to is China. The dairy farmers in New Zealand have to be very, very economical, and they have to work efficiently because there is no subsidy for the dairy farmers in New Zealand from the government. The dairy farmers are all shareholders in
Look at me, Lee.
Terra, the largest
You feeling alright now?
producer of dairy products here in New Zealand. They control about 95% of the market.
Present.
And they
Yeah, but where I
are
put, do you remember?
the
Yeah, you should remember where.
largest single company in the world to export dairy products.
And then I said, you remember where I put it? Yes, I did. Always look what I'm doing, I might forget.
Because of the efficiency of the way in which New Zealand farmers are able to produce the milk, many other countries in the world look to New Zealand for helpful hints as to how to do dairy farming better. Each of those factories is set up
Million cows.
to do the one particular job, and they do that well. As I said earlier on our journey today, you can see that by having the largest industries in New Zealand all dependent on the soil of this land, you will understand why it is necessary to have such large areas of pasture. People had tears in their eyes at so much of the forest and bush that would have been growing over all of these fields.
Look at this lovely mountain coming. Oh, look at the mountain. Cows. Oh, lovely shit. Look at this beautiful mountain. More interesting. Oh, look at the housing building. Oh, look at this plant there. Oh.
Also the place where all of the hobbits, if I may call you such, where all of the hobbits today will get off this vehicle and then transfer to a shuttle that will take them to Hobbiton in the Shire. Now, how things are going to work for the hobbits, I will tell you shortly. Or when we arrive at the Agrodome, I will gather the hobbits to me, and then I will tell you all how the rest of your day will look. We have one couple returning from Hobbiton to Rotorua. All the others are returning to Auckland, and you will travelling with me on this coach. How that all happens, I will explain to you. Oh dear, sorry.
Oh, look at the animals. What's the dogs here? Look.
I hate automatic safety systems. How that all happens, I will explain to you when we get to the agrodome. Once those people have gone off the bus, then we will be transferring everyone else who is left to the we'll be transferring everyone else to their accommodation in Rotorua.
What do you mean accommodation?
The people who aren't going to where we're going, Hobbit. The people who aren't going to Hobbit, they're going to a holiday.
Lovely, beautiful mountain there. Look.
Wow, amazing.
Don't you think so?
No.
Why? Oh, cows, million cows.
Wow.
4.5 million cows in this country, and 4.5 million people in this country, equal amount.
Oh, look at Lily.
It's Lily. Look at her. Oh, are you sure it's female?
Yeah, are we free?
Lily.
This female.
Female, okay. Female.
To play with it everywhere.
Oh, lovely.
Like me.
Hmm.
I play with Sonia.
Yeah. Look at me, Lily. Smile. How are you feeling now? Where is your medicine? Give it to me, I want to see. Look. Like this is Lily. Chinese lady give Lily like a medicine when she was sick. Не знаю, что это за цветок, но пахнет он лавандой. Ну-ка, открой. Открой. Дай понюхать. I don't know, it's sort of lavanda. Yeah, it's for you, darling. Don't worry, it's for you. I'm not taking it away from you. What's up? Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing?
Look at me like this.
What? What's wrong with me?
On your nose.
What's on my nose? I can't see. Oh, look тебе.
tall hedges made of trees,
Ah,
and they
yeah.
are trimmed every 5 to 6 months. And inside, where the wind does not blow quite so hard, in that particular field I could see each other. Different plants, different way that they are built, different materials used. Very, very... I was going to say different once again. I'm trying to think of a better word. Anyway, I can't. Very different from... Very unique. Thank you. Very unique. Because if you travel in, especially in many of the towns of Europe, you will find all the houses in a village or in a particular setting looking as if they all came from the same architect and all built with the same materials. And part of the beauty of such a town is the fact that everything looks so similar. Here, I think a big part of the beauty is the fact that everything is so completely unique and different.
Look at little Lily. 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 Lily.
Why are you talking?
I have to.
You have to speak with them?
Yeah.
Mm. Oli. No. Oli. Oli.
Haven't started recording yet. And anyway, you're not allowed to have two cats.
No.
Name the same.
Okay, look at this down. You look around sometimes.
Lily.
In New Zealand. Stop it. Stop it, Lily. Like that.
Lily.
Everyone thinks you're dumb. Talking with yourself, Lily, Lily. You're so fond of yourself, or what? So, this is modern bank. Oh, that's
You're supposed to fight me. You're supposed to fight me.
be quiet. No, don't take a picture of me. Huh? No, not now. I don't look how, don't like how I look like. Так, вот мы въезжаем в Кембридж.
Named, of course,
Новозеландский Кембридж.
Cambridge in England, which is of course on the banks of the Cam River. No such thing here. Nevertheless, this is Cambridge, and a number of about 30 to 40 kilometres further along the main road was a town that was once called Oxford. So that we had here in New Zealand the Cambridge and the Oxford. Oxford, though, has had its name changed to the original Maori name and is now known as Tiro. And we will pass through there a little later on our journey. Cambridge is these days, one could say, the hub of the horse racing industry as far as breeding goes. There are probably about 15 thoroughbred studs in the vicinity of Cambridge, and they have amazing results. Not every colt or filly that is born, of course, is going to be a great racehorse, but we have an extraordinarily high number of extremely good racing or racehorses that have come from the stables in this area of New Zealand. Towards the right, we will come across what is known as Lake Karapiro. Lake Karapiro is the home of Olympic rowing in New Zealand. This is the place, or this is the lake upon which all the
Like a lake.
young men and women who have become well known through winning or nearly winning
ничего не
Olympic
вижу.
games in rowing or events in rowing are trained.
Oh, yeah. Back in time.
You.
No, thing.
TV.
It won't work there, wouldn't it?
It's what they say.
TV only
One of
works
the
through
other
electric
things that you'll
socket.
notice about the Waikato region
Dad.
are the
It must be
hawthorn
thing, not
hedges.
person.
So both on the left and the right at the moment, you can see these very straggly looking hedges.
Everything.
Usually
I would take
twice a
camera.
year they are
It's
trimmed
well
back
charged.
to be very square or slightly rounded.
I said thing,
And
not
of course,
person.
What about
these
when
days
I
they look
take
much
person
nicer
all
looking
things?
your eyes open. Here is one sign already on the left. Both right and left are signs to be seen everywhere in this town. And then if you are looking for the dog and the sheep, look towards the left when we come through the village. The school as well, see, all done in corrugated iron. And there's even a shepherd.
Ooh, look at this huge donkey.
Inside the dog is the information centre. Inside the sheep is a souvenir shop. But look here, the merchant of Tiro. There is some Swiss, holy Swiss cheese, perhaps. Then we have a stylised pulpit.
Just close the dog and sheep shop.
We've just been here. We've been here.
Waiting for the day that Bendon Outlet Store will have a pair of knickers made from corrugated iron attached to their roof. Bendon here in New Zealand is an underwear manufacturer.
I'm telling you. Sure.
But I don't understand. This is another. Oh, Lily, look, she's cute. Give you a cuddle, Lily. Okay. Oh, she's lovely. Oh, so now make a picture. This is a shop. Oh, look, this is skin. Look in Wales, we have to sell skin with so many Wales. That's so softy. Oh, they're lovely. Oh, country of cows.
Look how much it costs.
How much it costs? You can see.
124.
Actually, it's not as bad as it seems. The same price as in Wales. So they're doing this one. Like they're doing this sheep here. Hmm? Oh, no, cutie. Sheep. Ah, there's the shoes make of sheep, yeah. Oh, they're nice. Very soft.
Look at this bag.
Oh, but you have so many, you have Shayla like this. You never appreciate Shayla.
This one's even bigger.
No, so you want to betray Shayla?
No.
So you will give Shayla to me then?
No.
Like, yeah, can you imagine just asleep on the
It's supposed to be 100 something, and that's how much it is. It's only
60 for
about
50?
100.
Oh, look at this skin, look. Look, Lily, pretend that you're sleeping. Now pretend you sleep, just pretend. Come on. Oh, Lily, look. Oh, look at this, the Peter Rabbit. Hello. He's lovely. How much is... You know, we can make a character of him. What he cost? Whoosh, how expensive he is. Bloody hell. No, bye-bye, Rabbit. What about this little thing? This little thing cost 11 feet. Even this is too much. It's too expensive. Prices is unbelievable. Hmm?
No, 18.
Yeah, there's still a lot. And it's not the... Oh, look, I feel sorry for him.
And if you press that,
Who's
it
pressing
doesn't
them?
sound.
Oh, yeah. He's lovely. Oh, how close he is. He looks like Nicholas. This. It's made of sheepskin. Is he toy?
Oh, but he's
Don't
not
you?
allowed, you're not allowed to take him. He's not for sale.
Oh, bless. He's so cute.
Mum, maybe this would be good for you.
Oh, maybe. Like, look at the towel. Towels always only
Look, my favourite.
kiwi. You like kiwi, New Zealand kiwi. But souvenirs will
Look,
leave for
look.
the end.
You can get these ones.
I would like to mess about with souvenirs now. New Zealand. Rotoria.
Look.
Feather duster. Don't you think it's too good for dusting? I think, you know what, it's good me for massage.
A massage. Seriously.
Well, don't you think it's too good for dusting? Look at this. Oh, look, sweetie. Oh, I like this animal. Oh, hello. It's really, what animal is this? Is it a sheep? Ducky duck, look. Lily, what animal is that? Oh, look, this little baby, so fun. You have a bunny rabbit there?
Yeah.
Oh, he's cute as well.
I mean, guinea pig.
Oh, guinea pig. Can you let him out?
No, you're not allowed.
Maybe they want to go out. Oh, guinea pig. Ooh. Look, open them there.
No, you're not
I
allowed.
just want to see how they look. Oh, sweetie. Look, Lily, look at this beautiful sheep. What, I can't understand, what animal is that, huh?
It's a llama.
Llama!
Yes, baby llama.
Baby llama. Oh, she's so beautiful, look.
It's a baby llama.
Этот зверь зовется лама. Лама дочь и лама мама.
Do you know what's good about it? It's for free.
There's a dog. Oh, look Look, let's see what animals there. Maybe they have cats here as well. Come on, let's go. Let's see. Woof woof. Like a man. What your dad when he's angry, he's like this. What's the point about it? Oh, I stink. Oh. Completely stink here.
Mom, where are you going?
Where are you going?
We up to that.
Oi, look at
One blank.
Oh, did I? I only now start filming. Ладел. Lily, come here, please, huh? I can't understand how this camera works. Oh, look at this beautiful cattle. No, it's not cattle. How is that? Sheep? Баран. Бил баран в барабан. Look, this one been shaved. Yeah? This one, Kyoli-gyuli. Kyoli-gyuli. Lovely.
That one's been shaved as well.
Look at this, how nice and neatly he looks.
Yeah. Meow. Mom, watch out.
Oh, he wants to hit me. You go to Hobbits, eh?
Yes.
Oh.
Look at his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's alive.
I see, maybe we'll see something else here then.
No. No, not getting out.
Sheep, where are the sheep? Where are the sheep? Where are the sheep in here?
I thought they were real.
Oh, I thought they're not real.
They're fake.
Oh, that's good fake then.
Yeah.
Mm.
I thought they were real.
So what are they doing here? That's how they shave them. Oh, look at this, how much wood. Wool.
Oh,
Mm.
maybe we should take
Look,
it.
they're showing how they... Oh, poor little
Maybe
thing.
we should take it and make a lovely
Oh,
thing.
take it then. Put in your pocket. Look at the sewing machine. That's how they're doing the wool. How they're doing the thread of the wool first. Oh. Who is this there? Oh,
It's dirty.
dirty. Look, stay here. Stay here near the sheep. Sheep? Where? Are they? This is nice scarecrow, look. A lady, one and man.
Oh,
Looks
I think
funny.
that's right. The man one should be dirty and the girl one should be clean.
Yeah, she's clean, yeah?
And the man's dirty.
But you're very dirty as well.
No, I'm not. I'm clean.
This is where we should be, near the stone, didn't we?
Oh no, I lost my sticker.
Oh, God. But you have another one inside. Yeah, keep your stickers on. For Hobbitons. Into the salmon well. Mm.
Look at this lip balm.
Yes, quite nice. Mm. Oh, look at this. Really, look. Блин, что они за sheep? Something on his horns. Look at me. Это Хоббитон. Вот это. Где снимали «Властелин колец». Или Хоббитон. Вот такой нам дали брошюрку, как маленький парк там у них. Хоббитон. Вот такая есть брошюрка. Вот видишь, тут вся схема. Ну где, держи, держи. Где тут что и как. Здесь нас снимали этот фильм. Вот это красивое место. Едем в место, называемое Шея. Приезжаем, где снимался фильм «Властелин колец». listen. Sheep. Where are the sheep? Where are the sheep? These are the sheep. Here, Vanta. Very look like whales to me. And smell the sheep. Nice. I don't know. Look, stay here. Make a picture here. Look, it's like Hobbits and movie star tourist hop. Look at this. It is very similar to whales. So similar. Oh, you remember whales? Oh, look, stupid sheep and dog. Sheep. Муни. Так, дублирую другую камеру, на которой сейчас кончится батарейка. Вон там, где хоббиты живут. Леля, смотри на меня, Леля. Вот хоббиты, Лили.
They have about 6,500 of them, and once they finish lambing, they usually have about 13,500 sheep. They also have a number of Angus cattle, around 400 of those, and of course, like the lamb, they're currently quite popular at McDonald's. The main homestead is the house out to the right there, up and amongst the trees. The oldest son, Craig, who runs the farm, he lives there, with his family. And part of the reason why this particular property was chosen was because of this landscape that you'll see around here. They liked the rolling hills, at that stage were green. They liked the scattered tree lines, but also the Kaimai ranges you can see out there in the background on the right hand side. It was all part of the attraction of the location scouts. Now, quick question, which I know I have to ask them all together again though, but how many of you have actually seen Lord of the Rings?
Me.
Cool. Alright, anybody read seen The Hobbit, the first one? Yeah. Cool. Anybody read the books?
Yeah.
Anybody done none of those things?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. We'll pick you up later. No. No, the reason I actually asked though is about a third of the visitors that we've had have not seen the movies or read the books. And we tend to find that people either come along with a fan, or a lot of the time it's to make family and friends at home jealous. That's a big reason. Now also, I'm really sorry, but I'm not allowed to dress up like a hobbit for you and reenact any scenes. Oh. But if you guys have a costume, feel free to put that on, don't be shy, because believe me, we don't have a shortage. We've had hobbits, orcs, elves, wizards, even a Wookiee, Harry Potter characters, all sorts. So this is Craig actually here on the left, chasing all the sheep through. You'll see him come up over the rise shortly. This road that we were travelling along, it was originally built by the New Zealand Army. It was built specifically to get access down to the movie side. And it's about 1.5 k's big. The engineers of the army, they were told that when they created this road, it had to be to a very high standard, as it would possibly carry up to 120 vehicles each day, and some of those would be 44-ton truck and trailer units. Oh, you kids are alright.
The real kids here.
We saw last year's lambs just here on the right.
Look at me, Lynn. Oh, look at this.
Sure, good. Says
Now for Lord of the Rings, there was 30 set buildings to make the movie. They all lined up to be movie stars. And just like the actors, some of those animals even had doubles. But this area here on the right, this was the technical car park. It is now the base camp for the full-time gardeners and maintenance crew that we have working out here. But when they built Hobbiton the first time around, the faces of the houses, they had to carry them in along a little track that'll just come up here on the right-hand side, along the front side of the Dugaway Hill that's out there on the right. You can just see a tree above it, and Hobbiton's located on the opposite side. And that was something else that they liked about the whole area, that it could all be built in behind hills and ridges, and nothing could be spotted from the road. on the left where you'll see a couple of diggers. This was the base camp. This is where the Stars caravans, makeup and costume trucks were. They had a food hall, and during Lord of the Rings it fed up to 450 people a day as required. During the Hobbit filming up to 600. It was meant to be on par with any 4-star restaurant, so getting fat hobbits wasn't too hard. And they had a big white tent there for all the extras to get their makeup and costume on as well. And regardless of the number of extras that they had on site each day, still took around an hour and a half just to get one hobbit dressed and ready for filming. And at the end of the day, even though they had the whole area set up like a little town, the only people that were allowed to stay were the Alexanders and the security guards. Everyone else had to go back to hotels, motels, or private accommodation. So out to the left-hand side there as well, that's all part of the farm, right out to where you see that the grass goes very, very green. That's all part of the property. And then as we come down the hill as well, out to the right, you'll start to see some of it appearing there as well, the movie set itself.
Lily, push it off, please. Do yourself up. Do yourself up. Let go.
Yes, yeah. So this is good, just one little bit of it. Now when we do get out of the van here, by all means, if you want to leave anything in the van, you're most welcome to. Just bring what you need to. Before we head all together into the movie set, I'm just going to go through some...
Ну вот, мы находимся как раз там, где сделали это известное кино. Владелец коллег. Ну, встань туда, and make your pictures very quickly. But don't touch the fence. Значит, let's go here. Hobbit movie set. Look at these different costumes.
Regarding being out here on the location. Now because we did get some rain this
Пожалуйста, тебя там все ходят, снимали. Ленчик, стань сюда, Леля.
So first things first, welcome everybody to the office. See them left and the air conditioning is broken, but otherwise
Stay.
so you're just coming a little bit more so you can get everybody in. I carry on too much longer. Basically, yeah, crack into your photos. Just what I ask is please don't venture past the last blue door Hobbit house, just down here on the left, or past the seat down by the tour exit sign, because we're actually going to go this way once we're finished in here. But yeah, grab some photos around here first of all, and then we'll go from there. And if you can get it, it is a nice
film. You go so I can film you.
That's
Okay?
as far as we can go.
Лечка, make sure I can film you. That's nice.
This is as far as we can go. We can't go past this.
Why can't we? Okay.
Yeah, you've got to do
Yeah.
Where are we going next? Are we going this way?
We will be, yeah. I'll just wait for everybody. Wait for these guys to get out of there so you can get some of those.
My language in Hindi, the head of the priest.
Yeah. Until they came down here and had a good look round, that not only was it good for the party, but let's just make this all of Hobbiton. So in actual fact they only had to create 2 hills, and those are the 2 hills just here beside the main garden. Otherwise all the other homes were built into the hillsides here, and then they just moulded it the way they wanted it to look afterwards. And with this place too, we've got 5 full-time gardeners. Look after it, they need to as well. The first time around they used beeswax, but it produced too much smoke and you couldn't see anything, so they had to wait till it all went off before they could do any filming. But they put them back a little further, so of course it makes it look as though it goes a little bit beyond where it does. But every single one of these homes, although they are the fronts, basically they've all been building certified by the local council to last for 50 years. So if we do run out of housing in town, we've had plenty of volunteers to come and live out here. We just have to build them out a little bit. But that little cutting that we walked through, like I say, in the Fellowship of the Ring, that's where after Frodo and Gandalf have met, they ride through. You see this place for the first time, but as they keep coming along this track, this is where all the children run to Gandalf and ask for all the fireworks. And there's a really grumpy hobbit that lives here. And his name is Proudfeet, and he's in Aucklander, so it kind of made sense. And he's visited here a few times, and he was amazed at how much fan mail he got for being in the movies for about 90 seconds. It's pretty cool. In The Hobbit, in An Unexpected Journey, that's where Bilbo runs off through the cutting going, I'm off on an adventure. So if anybody wants to reenact it, yeah.
Look at me, look at me. It's a Hobbit sleep. You don't видишь, too many people. Oh, look, this one is where you should stay. Come on, look this way. Run, stay near the river. Oh, yes, on there, Lily, with my fingers. Okay? I will do a lovely picture. A little bit this way, move. That's lovely. Stop. Ну вот, основное. Здесь очень хорошо видно. Лиль, this is where Hobbits lives, yeah? Have a look. Lily.
Some of them will have a picture on, and that tells you what job that Hobbit does in the Shire. So obviously this Hobbit's pretty lazy. We're getting a Hobbit-sized person there, nice work. And then the fruit trees we have over here on the left, these are apple and pear trees. And in the books it says that children, they sit under plum trees, they eat plums and they
What is
So for all the rings, they pull off all the apples and leaves, and they rewire plastic pots.
Look. Hobbits village.
It's actually a getting up there.
Lilечка, go there, make a picture, Lilечка.
Yeah, I spend all day looking at it.
Stay near the tree, yeah.
And so that's why you see them as they are today. But yeah, carry on grabbing your photos. There's a little pathway through the garden if you want to check that out. And I'll just do a detour.
Come on, off we go down. Did you go ahead? Was this our lady here or no? Alright, okay, in this case.
She said she's not going up here. She said we can go.
Where's through the garden?
Yeah.
Through there?
No, for real.
Okay, stay here, darling. Now, how about you making a picture here? Come on, Lil. This way. Stay here. Let's let people go.
Веник.
Веник. Oh, давай. Take веник.
No, you're not allowed.
Sure, you can stay near веник. Come here.
To do the adventure like the Hobbits.
Look at this one here. Stay near. Can she touch this broom? Come on, take the broom then. Take the broom. Just Lil. Lil, no, come on. Lil.
Yeah, be on your shoulder.
Yeah, sir. Maybe when we'll be in Moscow with you, I will take you in Moscow film studio.
What?
They're doing films in Moscow. I've been in these places.
And do you think I can?
Are you done? Don't you like it here? Huh?
No.
If you say anyone at school, everyone will envy you.
That's what I'm going to do. Why do you think I went for it?
Lily, stay here for me, please, Lily. On here, please. Near that one.
Only built for the Hobbit building, so they made it to make it a little bit different. Really? So different angles, different little attachments to them, all those sorts of things. Unfortunately, we haven't seen them in the first Hobbit movie yet, so hopefully that you would see. It was very high tech. Very.
What about the road in the middle?
That was put in afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, different way for us to get across and get the buses around the back of the Green Dragon. But the sheep.
I'm not touching the electric lights. Don't touch.
Touch electric wire.
Just shut up. Come on. Stay. Be patient, darling. Какой томик. Yeah? Take your coat, darling, please.
Do you think you can print out the pictures?
Huh?
When we get to England, can you print out the pictures?
Of course I can, if you ask me to. Look, stay near this ocean. What? Lily, jump there, quickly. Oh. Yes, it's the ocean. Okay, it's lovely. Okay, darling. Look at this, just to see. Be careful, baby. Oh, look at this. They grow crops. Oh, look at this. Кабачок какой. Just to see what this is made of. This is proper straw. It's beautiful. Look at the houses. Ой, это кабачок. Это же...
You made your face all smooth.
This is another lovely house here. Oh, look at this. Okay, you know what? I think I'm making a picture here. Look at stay here. Stay on the no, don't go there. No. It's dangerous because it's dangerous. Just look after this lady. Wait a second till ladies go. Come on, off you go. After you go. Go inside, lady. What is on there? Go inside. Go inside and come out. What is on there?
February, and then it started to sort of fade. So 10
Yes,
days
don't go on the
before we
edge.
filmed here, they decided they didn't like the colour of the leaves, so they got people up in the tree to spray paint all the leaves a different green. It's okay, they got lots of money for it. And the actual leaves themselves, as you can see, they do come off, but that's okay. We're in autumn now, that's supposed to happen. So come springtime, we'll have to get some more and glue them all back on again. Now what we're going to do here though is follow me. We're going to wander on past, grab photos by the gateway here at Bilbo's house. We'll actually tell you all about what they did here. We'll be down the bottom by the pine tree, but
No, when you have chance, stay here with the ladies. Huh? The house is attached to the
Wait for the dog.
She's in? This is not our group? Oh, look, the sheep. Look how many sheep are going there.
Yeah, she was here.
Look at there. Look over there, Mum. Look at the house.
Let's see how many. I know, darling. I already saw this house.
Now you get...
Be careful. Stay away from here. It's dangerous.
I can walk.
Stop. Not too close.
everybody will talk about that.
The house inside there. Look. Stop jumping. Don't jump like this. No, the reading Hobbit. Next film. Подождите, I'm talking with camera. Next film because Hobbit. Вот, darling.
Do you think you could print out the pictures?
Yes, darling, of course I can. If print is working, everything will be alright. Why not? Lechka, don't go on the edge. It's so dangerous. What are you doing there? It's okay. You could mess about with the film. There's the house.
Can you print out the picture when we get to England?
You already asked me that. I said yes, I'll see what I can do. You mean from this picture?
And the 3DS. But don't
3D
put it on
is here.
3D
3D is...
mode, because it won't end out 3D, I know.
They won't be good on the paper. 3D.
No, just turn it off on 3D.
No, darling, I'm not playing
Are you?
bomba.
Oh my gosh.
You won't have much memory left if you're doing it. So what you doing?
How do you check if it's on
I'll do it for you.
memory card? Check if it's on memory card.
Yes, it's very important. She's quite good in this phone. Videos. Oh look, our group is there. Come on. But she's saying something. Oh, near this house. Who are you doing? Me here? Come on.
No,
Do me at least.
I'm doing nobody.
What's the point to do nobody?
Okay,
But Lechka, stay away. Stay away. From the edge.
Great.
From the grid.
look at it. It's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, but why? Well, you should have do this way, not that way.
Had to. There are people in here.
Лиля, look, тачка, колодец.
And it's all here.
Go to the valley.
Yeah, that's how big Milbo's house is. The likelihood you're going to
Lechka, look at me.
movie is kind of small.
Lechka, you're not looking at me.
And this track that we came down, that's the one that
Lily.
rides up on the Forsyth Park when he comes to visit the road before the wedding. And you would have seen that little
Go too
seat
close
outside
to колодец.
the stairs up the top. That's where
You can play with it.
and Gandalf says good
Do something with this.
says good morning to Gandalf.
Picture. What are you doing? Too close to this house. It's lovely. Oh, Lily, look. This one is good one. Lil. Look at this one. Quickly. Keep people waiting. Look at me, darling. Lovely. That will be good picture. What is this house here? Pretend that you picking up apples. Just pretend. Ah, God. Is there any веник there? Look, no, do something here. Like. Feel yourself at home. So some logs there. Yeah, lovely. I think this will be most interesting part. Dressing up.
Mum, I know what I can do.
Or you can do Frodo's version where you set up
The hole.
way down, back up again. If it helps, it won't what?
That's true.
I think it's sure, yeah, sure. You get a beer if you do it.
It's not picture, just move. Move like. Look at these houses. Oh, stay. Okay, that's good view. Film me, just go. Look. Sister.
It is, yeah.
Stay near тачка.
No.
What is this? Shishki. Okay, play with them. Oh, Lily, look at this lovely view. Look, stay here, darling, please. Now I can do lovely this house system. Come on. Go here with the people of the corner. Go close to the corner.
Otherwise they just have fun.
They'll just let this man go. Beautiful houses. Oh, come on.
Then make yourself tall. That's it. So guys, just to start off with, this side of the party too, this is the side that Bilbo stands at Granville when he does his big speech in the movie. And of course he says to all the hobbits, I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and they're like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. And they're like, what? And he puts the ring on and disappears and they all freak out, and that's where he was standing. So if you want to disappear and reenact it, that's what the lake is for. He wasn't so keen though, so instead they made a replica of the bottom 4 metres of this tree, and they made him disappear in the studio because for some reason it was easier. I don't know why, but it proved to be.
It's not real tree.
And then out behind the Green Dragon, that really green field that you see is Swede. But from there back towards the pub here, they had all sorts of different crops growing, like corn, wheat, barley, swedes, potatoes, pumpkins, cabbages, sunflowers, all those sorts of things. But to actually build out there was a very important thing. Between the poplar trees you can see the cow. Anybody see that cow? The Angus cow, big black cow at the back? She's standing in a good spot because that actually is about where Frodo and Sam get to in the first movie. And Sam stopped and Frodo said, what's wrong? And he said if he took one more step, it was the furthest from home he's been, and he's only like 300 or so metres from the pub. And then they walk into a cornfield and they meet up with... Yeah, the head of the...
Lily, go ahead.
Nice little bridge.
Go ahead, go ahead. Еще туда. Лили, look at me. Ну вот так основное здесь. Там чучело стоит, смотри. Ага, scarecrow even. Вот это вот шер, который упоминается в этом фильме. Фродо тут жил. Lilia, go to this house. Quickly, go to this house. Stay near there. There's a boy standing. A little bit away from here. No, actually, you're right here. Oh, man. Look at me. Stay somewhere near these houses. I don't know. Run ahead somewhere where there's not many people. I'll make a picture from there. Okay, Lily, look at me, Lily. Come on. Lovely cottages now. Come on, over go. Okay, Lily, stay here then. Look, no one here. Look, Lily, come here. No one in this house. Look. Lilichka, quickly, darling. Look, no one here. Stop, look at me now. Now,
You can get food.
Film me now. His good father in Sicily. Hold it. Мы рядом с этим пабом. Лиль, go this way. Lily, go this way now. Huh? So beautiful there. It's a beautiful view there near the lake. Oh, come on, let's go there, do a few views here. Just stay near here. Oh, quite dark. That's a shame. Stay near here. Yeah. Go in the middle of the bridge. Go in the middle. No, further, Lily. Further. I can't see you at all. Further, further, further. A little bit more. Yeah? Ah, look at this one. Oh, that just ask this man. Hold on, I just ask this man. Excuse me, are you not busy? You think you can do our picture here, please? When people come. But I would like, I'd like to see all this house. We will stay near the pole with her. Do you mind if we a little bit squat like this? Yeah? Because you're too tall, it's taking too much ground. I don't want ground. This one. Oh no. Where? No.
Yeah, she's gone.
There's some people.
That's another room.
Oh, I know there's our people here, look. Come on, let's go there. Все, выезжаем из этого местечка. Ну ладно, скажи bye-bye. Bye, Hobbits. See you in the movie. Yeah. Oh, Lily. Oh, look. Oh, she's lovely.
She's getting her own Facebook page and everything.
Oh, good. She's lovely.
She was having a snooze.
Oh, lovely little girl.
Oh, I better put it back where I found it. Well, you weren't there, but that'll do.
Go stand next to her. Oh. Oh, bless.
Yeah.
Oh.
Downward dog instead of...
Yeah. She's like, yes, you can take my picture. I don't mind.
Oh.
Come on up.
I think she likes you, Lily.
No, you don't usually bring her. She doesn't
She's
steal the
so
one.
cute. Little thing. She's a movie star. You're lovely. You're gorgeous, little creature. Oh, well, be careful, people we can bite you. Oh, somebody put him here.
You could look a poor little doggy in like that.
This man.
Set the flow.
No.
Leave this. Still going, yeah. Only a couple more.
Yeah, the stragglers are coming.
Stragglers are coming, yep. Oh, he's gone the wrong way. Oh crap, how do I get through? How'd you guys do it? Come on. Yeah. Oh, there. Come on.
Oh, he doesn't want to get left behind.
Yeah.
He's too slow. He's not gorgeous.
Okay, last few.
Now these ones are coming in there.
Silly sheep.
Silly sheep. We'll beat these last two. Oh, so just take your time. Take your time, that's fine, right. You two, hurry up.
All of this
behind.
Oh no. I love my race. Why are there so many sheep?
Lovely here.
Oh.
Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Oh. Good boy. Oh, that was full of nice.
I don't really eat lamb.
Lamb?
No.
You don't like lamb?
No.
What meat?
Disgusting.
beef you like?
Pork and beef.
Pork? What
I
about
like,
beef?
I like beef steak and beef
What's
burgers.
pork cows?
Who cares? They're walking food.
Okay. So bye-bye. Put my Hobbit on set.
Don't forget to print out the pictures.
I will when I come to Russia.
Let
me push my computer
Russia?
to England.
My friends will be slow.
So уезжаем.
Yeah.
Едем, да. А don't involve me. Lovely, beautiful views. There's all around, but this was pick-up spot where to make this movie. The Lord of the Rings and Hobbit. Hobbit is quite new movie. Так, Lily, you know what? You stand here and I go across the road, right? And I'm making some nice picture, right? Вот еще какой-то домик целый на крыше. Lily, go a little bit closer. Yeah? Так, Томата-Мата. Ближайший, не знаю, город или поселок. Ближайший к этому Хоббиту Мовисет. Так, вон там такой домик с соломенной крышей. Называется он Мата-Мата. Subway, тут Макдональдс небольшой. Ленин скейт-парк. Ну, в общем, конечно, не Новая Зеландия, хоть и красиво, но все равно stolen civilization. Украденная цивилизация. Ну, Клей, встань вот там рядом с лавкой, а? Stay near the bench. No, near the bench. Какая-то красивая. Лиля.
What's up?
Too much light. Too bright.
Because I'm doing it with light. Let's see better.